What's good, y'all? It's your boy Ross back at again with another video. So we're gonna check out Malakai Black. AEW drama is weird. Now, I've been hearing, things about Malakai Black's issues in AEW, him not being used prominently, and some of the frustrations he's had with being with the company. Don't really have the best of understandings on how this really all transpired, but the thing that we can always kind of see when it comes to AEW as of recently, the past few years, honestly, is when Tony doesn't have anything for you, you essentially just disappear. He'll pay you money to disappear, to not go back to WWE or jump ship to WWE. You'll just disappear, especially with former WWE talent. So I don't know what's going on with this situation. Let's try to get a better understanding. This video is brought to us by Top 10 Wrestling. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel, man. Let's get right into this one, man.
Black might be gone from AEW. It's not really outright confirmed, yet everything is a bit cryptic and up in the air. But the word around the AEW locker room is that Malakai Black is no longer in All Elite Wrestling. So how did we get to this point? I remember when Malakai debuted for AEW, just how exciting it was. How we got to a point where he's quietly departing the company years later. But you see, Malakai's Black AEW run was very chaotic, very weird, and full of drama. And to figure out how we got to this point, we're gonna go back to the start. So like the video and let's go. So the former Aleister Black made his AEW debut on the July 7th, 2021 episode of AEW Dynamite, attacking Cody Rhodes in a shocking moment. He was now under the new persona of Malakai Black and would defeat Cody Rhodes in his debut AEW match for a huge win, which of course was then undone when Cody Rhodes beat him numerous times thereafter in classic Codyverse fashion. Then in early 2022, he'd start teaming with Brody King and eventually Buddy Matthews to form the House of Black stable, being joined by Julia Hart afterwards as well. This is the stable that Malakai has been part of ever since they formed all the way back then, with the House of Black being former AEW Trios champions, but despite that still having quite a strange and inconsistent run in AEW. More on that later. Malakai Black's AEW career has felt pretty underwhelming overall, and so news of Malakai leaving AEW isn't very surprising, and another reason why it isn't very surprising is because it's been rumored multiple times and always been kind of widely accepted that he most likely isn't going to stay in AEW. The thing with Malakai Black's AEW run is that it's been full of constant drama over the past few years now. Matter of fact, Malakai Black has tried to leave AEW before, and this isn't the first time that there were rumors floating around he was no longer in the company. In September 2022, reports came out that Malakai Black had been granted a conditional release from AEW following a prior release request from the previous month in August, which had been denied. The conditions weren't known, but it was known that it was a heavily conditional release. At least that's what was reported.
Which I can honestly probably see one of the major conditions is you can't join up for WWE for X amount of times. That's probably the major thing. You can't go to WWE for X amount of years, possibly. So, I don't know.
Malakai Black would then release his own statement a week or so later, where he would confirm that he did indeed request his AEW release amidst having some personal and private issues behind the scenes. He had also recently revealed he'd been dealing with a back injury for the better part of a year. Part of the statement reads, "I did indeed ask for my release. The last 2 years of my life have lended to a lot of setbacks. Both me and my wife have been affected by uncontrollable actions from the outside that resulted in loss of life, medical setbacks, career jeopardizing, the suicide of a close friend and a close family member almost losing their life, then experiencing an injury that I was sure was the end of my career. I spend every week going through several sessions of rehab, dry needling and therapy just to be able to walk and compete. Now this being the tip of the iceberg, and with the combination of the promises in my professional field that were not upheld, which resulted as a combination of all of these to a complete demoralization of life and career. This decision has been in my mind for the past 6 months."
Which is really just unfortunate for one person to have to deal with all of that, at one time, essentially. Like, losing people you care about and dealing with injuries, not getting what thought you were going to get promised to achieving in your wrestling career. Like, that can take a toll. That can take a toll on anybody, so we really don't know exactly the extent of everything compounding on top of each other, how it can affect someone. And, honestly, it can lead to people just getting burnt out super quick.
Safe to say Malakai Black was going through a lot personally and seemingly internally with the company as well. He also goes on to say in this statement that reports of there being a conditional release were false amongst other reports and rumours. Lastly, I have read a few narratives online in regards to my release, mental health and my personal life that I can summarise swiftly. If it didn't come from me, it didn't happen. Stuff about conditional releases, stuff in my marriage, or using said mental health to leverage the other when, as I said before, that part wasn't even going to be part of the public conversation are false. Then to make matters more confusing, Malakai took to Instagram Live on September 27th to further clarify how he had actually not been released by AEW and was not departing the company, despite most reports indicating he had been conditionally released. Malakai said this was not the case and AEW had not granted him his release.
My stuff about my conditional release, that it's false. So how are you guys still thinking, why are people still writing that I've got my release? Guys, I don't know how, why do you trust these people to tell you the truth? None of it's confirmed. There's no confirmation because I haven't left. I'm not luckily I've been, and that's what this whole thing was about, I've been giving time off by Tony to take care of a bunch of stuff. All this stuff has been cleared up like weeks ago.
It was a strange scenario, but things went silent on it more or less.
I definitely remember when he, those rumors, he had been released, and he came out, I was like, no, I haven't. Was there talks maybe of him being released? Possibly so. Like maybe him wanting to be out? Possibly so. We will never really truly know, unless he says something about it, but yeah. As it is at that point, damn, I lost my fucking voice. At that point, he pretty much was still within the company, just trying to take care of stuff.
And Malakai Black would return a few months later, and he'd continue on in AEW like nothing ever happened. But that wouldn't stop the drama in Malakai Black's AEW career, as in the next September in 2023, a cursed month, September, for Malakai Black apparently, fans noticed something weird about Malakai Black's AEW career, and that's that it had been over a full year and a half since Malakai Black had had a singles match in AEW and had only had 10 singles matches in his entire AEW career.
That's crazy.
Fans speculated that this was because of his back injury that we mentioned previously, and that he was in a trio with the House of Black to protect him and those injuries, which Malakai Black himself would then take to Instagram to refute and say this wasn't true, his back was fine now, and he had no idea why AEW wasn't booking him in singles matches, before going on to state he has other injuries too. And this trend of no singles matches for Malakai Black in AEW continued until February 2024, when Malakai was finally booked in an AEW singles match nearly 2 years since the last one. Conversations around Malakai's lack of singles matches reignited drama once again at the start of 2024 though, as on New Year's Day 2024, AEW fans were responding Malakai Black's lack of one-on-ones. Here's how many singles matches each House of Black member competed in throughout 2023. Damn. Hart 14, Brody King 8, Buddy Matthews 6, Malakai Black 0. That's what happens when you refuse to take a pin or put anyone over. This reply in particular here, accusing Malakai Black of refusing to do the JOB in AEW, would prompt a response from the King of the Black Throne himself. Usually I don't reply because these laughable takes from goofballs like this nerd is why this place is the equivalent of people opening their front doors and screaming their excrement-laced opinions into the street. However, bullshit. Never happened, isn't a thing. Happy New Year. So the new narrative was that Malakai Black was difficult to work with, and that very much played into why Malakai's run had been a bust. These claims were further denied by House of Black member Brody King as well, and throughout 2024 Malakai would stay wrestling in trios and tag action with the occasional singles match. With his last AEW singles match...
You want to know what's crazy about all of this? A random person on Twitter is like, I guess their sources, they know a guy, or maybe coming up with something in their head. Oh, this is what happens when a person doesn't want to put other people over. How does that person know that Malakai Black didn't want to put other people over, didn't want to, be professional, whatever the case may be? No source of the information, just somebody told him and he ran with it. Or he just came up with it in his head. Like, that's a kind of a wild statement to make when you don't even really know. Like, us wrestling fans can sometimes feel like we know the business when we actually don't fucking know the business. We're literally just watching from the outside, and we may get tidbits and information from other people that were in the business, but that don't mean we know the business. We're just watching.
Taking place on the 6th of November Dynamite against Adam Cole, where after the match, Malakai seemingly breaks character to have a moment and embrace Adam Cole after being defeated by him, leading many fans to speculate that Malakai was done with AEW and was departing the company. However, Malakai would then come out once again to say no, this isn't the case.
Touchdown, and again, everybody is always retiring. He's retiring because of his injuries and this and that. Well, neither of these things. I'm not injured, nor am I retiring, nor am I leaving.
And he continued wrestling as normal for AEW. What is going on? His actual last match for AEW would be later that month at Full Gear, and he's not been seen in the months since. And in those months, both Brody King and Buddy Matthews, the members of House of Black, have been encouraged to leave the House of Black in promos and forge their own paths. And after it happens the past week with Buddy Matthews on AEW Dynamite after his match with Will Ospreay, it reopens the conversation about Malakai Black's status with AEW, which takes us to where we are now, where it was revealed recently that the AEW locker room is under the belief that Malakai Black is gone from AEW, and that's the reason for these promos and this current storyline with Buddy Matthews and Brody King. And this would make sense, as it's been speculated in the past that his deal would be up in late 2024/early 2025, and of course it's been kind of known that Malakai will depart AEW once his contract expired,
most likely.
There was really no chance of him ever re-signing. But even so, what a weird way to go out. Just abruptly stops appearing on TV and isn't even there to turn on or be turned on by the House of Black.
Yeah.
Wait, that sounded wrong. They just kind of left the group on their own accord in post-match promos. And the release isn't fully confirmed though, like I said at the start of the video, and we're only going off the reports and hearsay backstage. Malakai Black is still listed on the AEW roster page to make matters even more confusing for everyone. Then again, Malakai Black's entire AEW run has been one big ball of confusion, so this is nothing new. I guess the question is, if Malakai Black is gone from AEW, then what's next for him? Well, I think the very obvious answer is that he will most certainly go back to WWE and return as Aleister Black. His wife Zelina Vega works there and returned back a few years ago after she left herself. Triple H is also in control now. When Aleister was released from WWE initially, it was a Vince decision, whereas Triple H has always been a fan of Malakai Black and booked him as a world champion in NXT. It's very likely that Aleister Black's booking in a WWE return run would be a lot stronger than Malakai Black's AEW
This
booking.
is true.
In fact, reports came out as I was writing this video that read, there are influential people in WWE who are big fans of Malakai Black and see him as a possible top singles act in the company.
For
Which
sure.
makes sense and sounds about right. Triple H, like we said, as we know, is a big fan of Malakai Black. But this same report also weirdly delves into the alleged issues with his AEW career, stating, some people backstage in AEW were reportedly frustrated with Malakai Black. This was reportedly due to the perception that he was reluctant to do jobs for other talents and frequent claims of injury issues. Alongside this, it was said he had never developed a rapport with Tony Khan. Malakai Black also reportedly told people within AEW over the last couple of years that he was burnt out from wrestling and had considered potentially retiring. It's weird that this is all resurfacing today as if it's something new when this was all discussed and debunked years ago, as we talked about in this video by Malakai himself. Regardless of the weirdness of Malakai's AEW run, there were some cool moments, like winning the Trios title, and the TNT title match with Cope was awesome as well. But overall, it does kind of feel like nearly 5 years got kind of wasted, especially with how exciting it was and how buzzing everyone was when he made his debut for AEW attacking Cody Rhodes. It felt huge. What a letdown, man. Malakai Black definitely does not go down as an AEW success story, and in the future, I'll definitely be doing a video video looking deeper into his AEW run and what actually went wrong booking wise and what he was doing on TV and all that jazz. The downfall of Malakai Black's AEW career essentially. But guys, that's it from me on this video.
This was
here.
a dope
If you
video,
enjoyed
bro.
it, smash a like.
Hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and get us a like. And y'all should, too. Go subscribe to Top 10 Wrestling. This was very dope. Kind of a little bit of a inside, not an inside look, but like a look into, I guess, the inconsistencies of, you know, the supposed rumors and what he was saying and just the issues that he was having just within the company. I remember when he did go over to AEW, there was buzz, there was excitement to see him there, and we don't know what happened. We don't know what reports are really true, what rumors are really true, you know, but I will say this. I think the idea of Tony Khan and him not having the best rapport, you can kind of see that now because right now, they're not doing that with him. They hadn't really been doing much with him other than keeping him in that trios bubble, essentially. So we don't know. We don't know, but if he does leave, if he's not too burnt out on wrestling, because that can be a thing, you know, if he does leave, there's a really good chance he will definitely come back to WWE because things are different now in WWE. A lot of things, you know, how things are operated, how people move, and, you know, how the talent is perceived on WWE television is completely different than what it was when Vince was in charge. A lot of people left because Vince didn't really know what to do with them. Vince wasn't really trying to push them, so they decided to leave and go to AEW. Little did they know that Vince was going to end up getting pushed out the company because we all assumed Vince was going to be there until the day he dies. No one thought he was going to get pushed out the company the way he did in the timing that happened. So a lot of people, when they jumped ship, guess what? They were in AEW, and AEW was the new, fresh, hot thing until that happened. Then Triple H started taking over, and then things started to progressively get better for, you know, the weekly shows and the PLEs, and the numbers started going up crazy. I'm telling you, and I'm willing to bet if a lot of people knew this, if a lot of people knew that Vince wasn't going to be in charge anymore, a lot of people probably would have stayed, re-signed, and then once Vince was out the door, then things would have probably been different for him. And I'm not saying everybody, because we seen it with Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley was there when Vince left, and Triple H really didn't do nothing with him. And now he's in AEW and doing a lot better and seen on the show as a top guy and a prominent figure. So it doesn't work for everybody under Triple H's regime. So, but comment down below. Let me know, what was your favorite match from Malakai Black in AEW? Y'all let me know down below. But I appreciate all the love and support. Road to 150K. Appreciate y'all kicking in with me. See y'all next one. Peace.